Ready? 3, 2, 1, record. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Green Suiters podcast. This is episode 60, a community episode. If you've never heard of our community episodes, we like to take questions, thoughts, complaints, and ideas from the community at large, the woodworking community at large, and we just turn that into one entire episode. If you want to submit your own question, comment, thought, or idea to be read on the next community episode, because it's every 5 episodes we do this, go to www.greensuiterspodcast.com and submit your question to have it read on the air. Did we want to talk about what we're up to? You guys just want to jump right into it?
We can jump right into it, unless we usually don't do what we've been up to on the community ones. No. Let's just get the questions, and then that way maybe we can answer more. But I do want to talk about the giveaway, because this is the last episode of the month. So it's your last chance to enter in the giveaway that we will be doing, or that we are doing this month with TSO products. And that is for the XII PE guide rail square, the best guide rail square out there, hands down. It's open to all 50 states, and all you have to do to enter is go to greensuiterspodcast.com and fill out the entry form there. If you've already done it, don't try to do it again, people.
We're going to snuff you out.
Enter your wife.
Oh, what a great idea.
I'm going to do that. Jason.
Enter your kids, but don't enter yourself.
Oh, okay.
Now, whatever you do, don't enter your buddy, because that's unless you and your buddy are into that.
What if I spell Brian once with an I and then once with a Y?
I'll allow it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll allow it. We've talked about that before. I mean, people can do that. If you want to enter your wife to win, fine.
You shouldn't enter anyone unless they want you to enter them.
Yeah. You could go to jail.
You could.
It's illegal. It's a federal offense.
Is it really? No.
Oh, absolutely. It sure is. Definitely a federal offense.
All right. So if you want to enter the giveaway, just go to the website and enter your information.
Yay.
All right. Does anyone want to go first with their question?
I will go first.
Okay. What do you got?
Mr. Jerry Grennan sent this on our volley, everybody. For those of you that don't know, if you are a patron, you have the opportunity to be on a cool little private chat room group thing. It's a cool little app that Ben found us.
Well, this is the first time that we're publicly talking about it. We already tested it out with the existing patrons. So if you've never heard of Volley, it's a messaging app, a video messaging app. You can do text or voice as well. But with Patreon, the Patreon page itself, the community can't start their own threads. And so we wanted to have a way for, if one of the patrons has a question about something, or if they want to start their own discussion, they can. And so we started a Volley. And as soon as you become a patron, then you get access to our Volley. It's on a pinned post on our Patreon page, and you can start engaging with us and everyone else that's in the community. If you have a problem in the shop, you create a little video, show everybody what you're talking about, and then other people in the community can respond to it. It's a really great way to just be in a community together. So it's on Volley.
I was very hesitant about it at first, but it actually is kind of fun, and it seems like they're really enjoying it. So
yeah.
All right. So the first one is from Jerry, one of our patrons.
Mm-hmm.
And he put it in on Volley. And the gist of this is he was wondering, for people that are using Bloom undermount drawer slides, how do we notch for the back of the slide on a drawer? And if you don't know what he's referring to, basically when you're using undermount drawer slides, the drawer slide has to fit, like there's specific measurements. You have to have a 1/2 inch underneath the drawer slide or the bottom of the panel. And you have to have a notch in the back that the drawer can actually rest on. So it's actually riding on the bottom panel. So there's a couple of different ways that you can cut it. I'll leave one to Sedge, because I know one that he's going to say. You can use a bandsaw, right? It's a very effective way. You can set up some stops on a bandsaw. It takes a couple of seconds. And then you just notch out, I think it's 1 3/8 inches, if I remember correctly, is the width of the notch, at least on the 563H model. So you'll basically just notch it out a 1/2 inch up, and 1 3/8 inches over. You can notch all of the horizontal ones first, and then you just flip them all, set up your stop, do all the vertical ones, and you just cut that notch out. I think Jerry had mentioned that he had been trying it with like a crosscut sled or something and a dado stack. That's also a way to do it. He had mentioned some stuff about tear out. Try using a sacrificial fence on it, and that'll probably help with that problem. But the bandsaw, to me, the bandsaw is a much easier way to do it. What I would suggest, you don't have to do notches. You don't have to do any notches at all. You could just build your drawers so the back panel is a half inch less in width. And when you put that on, it's just open in the back. So you don't have to worry about notching anything. The only thing that you would have to do is drill the hole for the locating pin. Mr. Sedgley.
Yes.
I thought
How do I do it?
Yeah, I think I know what you're going to say.
Okay, what do you think I'm going to say?
Using a domino.
Yeah, I have a technique. I just looked up the episode, and it's episode 32. And actually, the picture that I'm looking at on YouTube is me doing the notch. It's toward the end of the live stream we did about a year ago.
So this is on Festool Live, episode 32. Festool Live is where
okay. Festool Live, episode 32. I'm sorry, I kind of got distracted because I'm trying to do this and a couple other things. But yeah, it's just a few steps using a domino. It's about 2 plunges, setting the plate correct, and then just you're left with a little bit of a wisp of box or back. So what you do is you just take a chisel and pare it down, or a handsaw, and it works absolutely perfect. I showed the guys at Bloom once, and they kind of freaked out. They went, "Boy, that's a lot easier," instead of setting up a dado stack to do it. So
yeah.
And I'm trying to think if I did it on Sedge Tool, and I don't think I've done drawer boxes yet, but I should do that on the Sedge Tool channel too.
I've never done Bloom drawer mounts, but you could do the same thing on a router table, right?
Yeah, for sure. It'd be very similar. It'd be very similar to just like using a dado stack and a miter gauge or something.
Yeah.
I've done the miter gauge. I've actually done it on a router table. My preferred way, if I'm notching it out, is the bandsaw. As long, because once you get if you have those mag switches, the magnets that you can just set, those are great. You literally just set it up, run it, make the cut, because it doesn't have to be clean or pretty. But the bandsaw is going to do a great job, no matter what. The easiest way to do it to where you don't have to do anything is just cut your drawer bottoms half inch shorter.
Depending on the
drawer
depth
side back.
Depending on the depth of the drawer, you could also kerf cut it on a miter saw, couldn't you?
Yeah, sure can.
You could, but if it was anything over 2 or 3 inches in depth, I think it'd be a little harder to kerf cut, just because that blade would be so far up, because you have to stand it vertically, right?
Yeah.
So the back of the drawer box like this, you'd have to stand it up that way to cut those notches out. So that might be kind of hard.
What?
But no, you just put the box underneath the miter saw.
Yeah, and
you could use a spacer between the drawer box and the miter fence.
You're talking about after it's already assembled, then cutting the notch out?
Yeah. That's how I do it with the domino.
Yeah, the only way I would ever do it, that if I did it after that, would be with a domino, because it's already constructed. The best way to do it is to cut the notches out before you assemble the drawer.
Oh yeah. But there's a lot of people who buy boxes pre-made, and they want to notch them because they decided to use Bloom undermount. And that's why you set up a lot of people set up dado stacks to do it afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably use the domino in that scenario, or a router table, depending on the width of the drawer.
But you got to be careful with both of them, because they're both drop cuts.
Yeah.
On one side, and that's where the danger lies when it's a dado stack and I'm trying to, Jason,
I'm looking at that differently though.
I'm glad you said something, because with the bandsaw, you have to do it before you assemble, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. He's notching that when it's assembled on a bandsaw.
No.
You just notch both sides.
If you're buying drawer boxes that are already made and you have to notch it out then, well then yeah, obviously the bandsaw is not going to work. But if I'm creating all my own drawer boxes, I'm going to cut my notches out before I ever put the drawer box together.
Yeah.
Actually, there's one more method, Jason, and you're leaving it out. It was a comment to your Bloom undermount drawer slide video where somebody just like smashes the drawer box against like an indentation and that's how they do it.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's stupid comment. I wanted to go back to something you had mentioned about the router table, because you had talked about one would be a climb cut. With my router table, it wouldn't be, depending on the width of the drawer box. That's why I was thinking about it that way, because a traditional router table, how much space can you actually move the fence to the right of the router bit? Not very much, a couple inches.
I don't get what you're saying.
So a traditional router table, if I'm looking at it, it's wide.
Yeah.
And the fence, I'm looking at the entire fence dead on.
Yeah. Yeah.
That probably only goes back to the back of that table, maybe a few inches. So the clearance that you get between the bit and the fence in its full open position is very minimal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about my router table, which is the complete opposite case of that. So depending on the width of the drawer, because mine, I'm looking at the wide router table, my fence is this way, and I can move it way over this way. So I actually can open that up, and I could still use it to push through a regular cut, if that makes sense. So I could reference off the fence on the bit. Does that make sense?
Okay, so on the drawer boxes, again, I've never done Bloom, so I have no idea. Where is that notch being made at in reference to the edges? Is it being made close to a corner? Is it being made?
Yep. Close to a corner on the back panel, the back of it.
So I don't see how you wouldn't be able to use a router table to do that easily.
You can.
But it's a drop cut. In other words, one way, one notch, you push it in.
You're pushing it.
But the other way, you got to drop it down and push it. Unless you do two sets of the fence, or two setups, which is a royal pain in the butt. Same thing with a dado stack. It's a drop cut.
I may be showing my my naivety here when it comes to router tables. Couldn't you just, like, again, Jason, going back to what you're saying, you're facing the router table as if you're using it. Typically you're pushing from right to left, right? Because that goes against the spin of the bit. Why can't you just, and I'm thinking like with the CMS, it has a miter fence. I guess it'd be a little bit dangerous because you can't really lock it down because it's a sliding table. But couldn't you just set up a bracing block and then push it directly towards the bit to notch out the other side? Because I get what you're saying. Like one side is easy to do because it's close to the fence, but the other side you would have to go from left to right because of where it is on the box. But couldn't you
could, but you're overthinking it. The one that's going to be more dangerous. But I know what you're saying. You're looking at it straight on, and you're just talking about pushing it into the fence.
Yeah.
Yes, you could
for
do
the
that.
one side that doesn't have that much, like with the CMS, it would be easy to do one side but not the other because of depending on how big the drawer box is, I guess.
On a traditional router table, on any router table, we'll just say any router table.
I found this on the web.
You would use the fence, and you do your right side back drawer box. You just push it through, adjust the fence, push it through. You're 1 3/8 inches, you're good to go. What Sedge is talking about, in order to get the one, so this is the back of the drawer box. Router bit's right here. I'm pushing, pushing. Cool. I got my notch. Well, I can't go like this.
Yeah.
So what he's saying, you basically have to turn it around so now the back is facing you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you'd have to drop down. And then you'd be able to do it because now this corner over here is now back in this corner. Now, if you have the height of your router bit set properly to 1/2 inch, it's really not a problem, but you're just adding one more thing and it's another step. You got to take it off. You got to turn it, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Bandsaw to me prior to assembly is hands down the option that I would choose. But to be honest with you, I really like not doing notches at all. If I have a 3.5 inch depth drawer, full depth, the whole side length, not including the 1/2 inch panel on the bottom, and the 1/2 inch gap. So let's just say I'm doing 3.5 inches. I'm going to cut 3 pieces, my 2 sides in the front at 3.5, and I'm going to cut the back one at 3.
Yeah. So you're gonna reduce, or you're gonna take off that 1/2 inch plus the depth of your whatever the bottom of your drawer is, and then just affix it to the bottom with like pin nails or something.
It would. Yep.
Yeah.
Or screws, small screws.
Yeah.
Which you really don't need. I mean, if you glue it in, it'll be fine. But just to prevent that sagging in the back, I typically will either pin it with a couple of 18 gauge brad nails, or I'll just use some very small, inch long screws. Velcro is another good option.
Yeah.
16 penny nails.
Yeah.
Ratchet strap.
Yeah. Ratchet strap.
Ooh, strap on.
All right. We spent way too much time on that one question.
All right. Thanks, Jerry. All right. I'll take the next one. This is, sorry, all my Apple devices are a little squirrely right now.
I thought you were going to say your dryer caught on fire again.
No. This is from Anthony Woodworking over on Instagram. And he asked, what is a custom piece that you couldn't get paid enough to do? River table. I have no interest at all of doing a river table. If someone asked me to make them a river table, I would slap them in the face. And I would say, get away from me.
Sedge?
River table.
Jason?
River table. I think we talked about this. We had another similar question like this on another episode a long time ago.
Yeah.
Just say no.
Yeah. I have nothing against people that make them, and I have nothing against them. I just don't want any part of the epoxy.
No.
I want no part of that. None.
It seems like such a...
Some of them look beautiful, but I want absolutely no part of the epoxy. No, thank you.
I don't think any of them look beautiful. So if you make them, like, more power to you, but I think they're pretty gross. Mr. Sedgley, what is your question?
I got one from the man, Mr. Mancini Woodworking. And it said, what is the tool you would love to get your hands on if there was nothing stopping you? Okay, so I consider this a tool. I've been looking at them for years. They've been out of production for years. And I met a guy. Oh, that sounds good. I met a guy. There's a guy out there who I don't know how we hooked up, but we've been going back and forth. And he heard me talking about Liberty Tool on, I think maybe this podcast, or I called it out somewhere. And it's called an Emirate Vise. You guys ever hear of them?
Yes.
You've told me about them before.
They are unbelievable. They are highly collectible. They are a pattern maker's vise. If I can score one, which this guy might bring one when I'm at Hatville Tool, I'm going to bring some serious cash with me. He says he has a couple of them, and him and I have been going back and forth. And I think I'm going to buy it because I'll build a whole bench around it. Because I've wanted one for at least 30, 35 years.
Now, what is it about this, about that separates it from like a Moxon vise or like a...
Okay, so a pattern making vise, and there's been copies of this, like Lee Valley used to sell a Tucka vise, which was a knockoff. A pattern maker's vise, it has fairly decent sized jaws, but it swivels on all kinds of angles. So you may be working on something and you're like, oh, now it's kind of like what a Vaxis does for you.
Yeah.
Puts it in the right working area.
Angle,
and it's just amazing. I've wanted one just forever. So I might be able to score one probably in the next month. I'm crossing my fingers. Hopefully this guy Frank will come through. We'll see. So it's an Emirate vise.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Highly collectible. Very rare. You guys?
Jason?
I'm going to go big on this one. If I had the space, I think I would really enjoy having a large sliding table saw.
Yeah, That's what I was going to say. That'd be nice.
Because with the majority of the things that I make, especially nowadays, and that I really enjoy making is the cabinetry related stuff. So I think it'd be really great, but it's not just great for that. It's great for a lot of reasons, but I think it's better suited for people that like to do that more. But it would still allow me to do all the other things that I wanted to do. But I'd really like something like that. I think I don't, the way that my shop is set up here, I don't, with the CNC machine, I don't think I could do it. If I didn't have the CNC machine, maybe. But yeah, that'd be my answer.
Same here. The YouTube channel Ishitani Furniture uses a sliding table saw, and they use it with everything. Not just I don't think I've ever seen plywood ever used on that channel. It's all hardwoods, but they use it to joint every edge. It's a really versatile tool. But yeah, you have to have the floor space for it. It'd be really cool.
Yeah, Felder makes. Well, they have the hammer line, but the hammer ones don't take up nearly as much space. And then you get into like the real big Altendorf ones or Felder ones, or since you had the same answer, I will say one more real quick, and that would be I would really like to try out the upgraded version of my joiner planer combo, which that might happen. But I would really love to see the difference between a Felder machine and the hammer machine.
What's the difference between what you have and the upgraded one? You talking about the width, or is it something?
No, it's
like
the one I would
different?
The one I would do would be the 16-inch. It's basically the super luxury version of what I have, like digital readout, automatic bed.
Okay, yeah.
Lowering and raising, longer infeed and outfeed beds on the jointer, much more sturdy fence. It's like the Cadillac, and
it's the cat's pajamas.
It's like a really, really super nice version. And then on top of that, they have Format 4, which is like even better than Felder. I always tell people it's like XL, Ford XL, Ford XLT, and then the Harley Davidson edition, right? All basically the same company, but you pay more money and you get like way better standard features and all this other stuff. So that would be the other one for me.
Awesome.
Is it my turn? I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is from Jakachis. I don't know. GKATECHIS. I don't know how to pronounce that. On Instagram. He says, talk about a time you say a project will take versus the time that it actually takes to complete it. Mine's not really woodworking. It did have some tasks in there. And that was when I remodeled my master bathroom. I thought it was going to take, a few full, good, solid days, maybe a week, right? And that took me weeks to finish, just because I ran into one thing that I'd never done before, and then another, and then I started getting frustrated. Then I had to tile for the first time, and that was really bad. But by the end of it, I was pretty good, and it was just it was a mess. And I will say that pretty much none of my projects ever take the amount of time I say they're going to take. These days, they're always way, 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 way longer. And I think a reason for that is because at this point, I don't have a timeline for it because I'm not having to build it for a customer. The only time where things will completely change for me is if it has to do with the sponsorship, because now there is time, that is related to that. So it has to be done by a certain amount of time. So ever since I stopped doing client work, I feel like nothing ever takes as short of amount of time as I think it's going to take. But the bathroom was definitely a project that took way freaking longer than I ever thought it would. Sedge, do you have one?
Yeah, I think throughout the years, you know how you build, and you can dial in what it's going to take to build something, right? Okay, so I'll use it for instance. I don't build for anybody except Marianne right now. Okay, but a friend will come along and say, hey, I saw something on freaking Pinterest. It looks real easy to build. You could probably knock it out in an hour. Right? That's the shit that drives me freaking crazy because they think I can, oh, it's only an hour of your time.
I mean, it's just wood, Sedge.
It's
How
just
hard
what
can
it's.
it be?
Oh, here's the best part. It looks like it's just a basic box. and then they show me, I go, so you saw on Pinterest? I go, are they charging? How much they charge? They go, it's only $100.
And it's
Okay.
premium pine.
Okay, not even that. I'll buy you the hairpin legs for this, right? So you know what I'm talking about, right, Jace?
Yep.
Okay, so I said I'll build it with you. Okay, so this was the beauty of it. They freaked out because they bought the materials and the legs, and I go, do you know you have to buy the stain too? And do you know you have to buy the finish? And I go, oh, we got to finish it? I go, you want a freaking made out of pine? So what happened was they showed up with everything and we had a hell of a time. I showed them how to put it together, how to fill and sand. And I was like, oh, okay. And that took 4.5 hours. And then they were kind of walking on. They go, oh, we got to stain this. And they went, oh. So we stained it, right? And then they go, is it finished? And I go, feel it. And they go, well, we got to put a finish on? I go, yeah, now you got to go buy finish. So what happened was they didn't realize, oh, you got to wait for it to dry between coats? You can't just do one coat? So people don't realize the process, and the process. So I was rolling my eyes. I finished it for them because, trying to get people and schedules together to come and do it. So I charged them a 12-pack for me to finish it.
Mhm.
But that was another eye opener for me because, and they realized, it was a basic box with hairpin legs with a dark stain. And they picked it up and they go, wow, that was a little expensive. I go, yeah, you should have bought it on freaking Pinterest or Etsy.
Yeah, for $100. Yeah.
But now they have something where they understand, oh, so when somebody comes over to their apartment, they can go, oh, yeah, I built that. And there's a certain pride to it. So that's why I did it. But people don't understand the actual time and process. It was going to be dragged out. It wasn't a simple hour project. So that's where
it's a good teaching moment.
You know what? It is a teaching moment. And I just love these guys. But it was just kind of cute to see, their eyes every time. Oh, I got to go buy that. You don't have that? I go, no, not the color you want. Not the finish you want. But am I going to use all of it? No. So do you want me to buy the shit I'm never going to use again from you because we didn't use all of it? No. And that's the thing that people don't understand about building stuff. And so that's what I have to add to that if I was to hopefully give a little bit of insight to it.
Mr. Marshall?
I would say mine. While you guys were talking, I was just kind of thinking of all the projects that I've done around the house. Probably the biggest one was my kitchen countertops. And as much as we like to joke and kid around about premium pine and stains and finishes, I made these counters almost 7 years ago, and it's just now getting to the point where I'm like, okay, maybe these need to be replaced. So they've been abused for a number of years, and they're just now starting to kind of. I mean, I could probably just refinish them and they'd be fine. But so I decided to remake the counters in my kitchen, and I think this is where it really gets into time not time wasting territory, but like you didn't think it would take this long, is when you're trying to do either a modification to an existing installation, or you are trying to remodel and you don't know how things are fixed underneath or behind. And so I thought, okay, what I can do is I can just take the measurements of the space that the counters needed to take up. I go and buy that material to replace the countertop. I finish everything. I knew where I needed to cut it out for the sink and stuff. It's a simple L counter. It's not a very complicated one. What I couldn't do in the moment was I couldn't scribe it to the wall yet. And so I said, okay, I'll get the basic shape of it out. I'll pull the old one off. I'll scribe it real quick. I'll throw the old one back on, and then I'll finish making it. And when I went to go take the old top off, whoever installed the bottom units for my cabinetries, my kitchen, they just did it. It was like a built-in. They didn't assemble the carcass and then install it. They just built it all in place. And so the anchor points were in really weird places. There were pocket holes everywhere. It just, like, you couldn't just pop the top off. You couldn't, undo a couple anchors or fasteners and pull the top off. And so I ended up having to rebuild the entire bottom unit, but that was never the plan. I never budgeted for that, both in money and in time. And so, I was still very new to work. This is in 2016. So I'm still very new to woodworking. I'd made a couple small furniture pieces, never anything to do with cabinetry. And it ended up taking like a month. And so like my kitchen was in disarray pretty much the whole time. Like I had to like think about how we gonna cook meals and stuff. But I'd never worked with an oil before, an oil finish, and that takes like I don't know, probably a week to cure properly. And it's like stinking up the house, and it's like, geez. So the next time I do it, I will do it a much more efficient way. Just tear it all out and rebuild it.
I call it opening a simple project. I call it opening a can of worms.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It's
Yeah,
like as soon as you pull one layer off, you're like, well, what the hell is this? You're like, I didn't know this was here.
You ever have those days you walk out in the shop and everything you freaking touch falls apart?
Yeah.
God,
it's
I
every
hate
time
those
for me.
days. I try not to say that, but I hate those days.
Yeah.
God.
And it's one thing too when you're able to look at someone else's work, because I experienced the same thing in my basement. I'm like, what were they like? How many corners were cut here?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I saw when I pulled that kitchen counter apart. I was like, man, this is just terrible.
So that's big jobs like this is actually a good topic. Big jobs like that, you really got to go into it with a solid game plan, right? And that's what I'm already thinking about for our kitchen, even though it's way far off. And Sedge, I'll probably be talking to you about this once we get to that time. But it's like, okay, before the project, here's ways that you could save time in the long run based on what we were just saying. And for me, it would be like, okay, I'm going to go in the kitchen and I'm going to look at all the connections. I'm going to see how the tabletop or the countertops are attached before I ever start building anything. I'm going to see where the hookups are for the, refrigerator, the dishwasher, all of this stuff, right? Figure out how all of those are going to come out. And then before I would ever take anything down ever, every single box for that kitchen would be complete. Like I would have every box completely built way before I ever ripped anything out of that kitchen.
Of course. And the plumber and electrician scheduled to come in and make sure everything can be moved right after demo.
Yeah.
Well, then there's the weight.
And then the next big weight is like, what kind of countertops are you going to do? Well, if you're doing, granite or quartz or whatever the case is, it's like, okay, now I've got all my boxes in place. Now I have to get somebody to come in here and do that. So what am I going to do in the interim? Well, in the interim, I could, throw some OSB or some plywood up there and work off that. But, how long are you going to go without an operational sink, which, you could set up? Do you want to go to all that trouble? It's like, it's this whole thing, man, like those big projects.
Oh yeah. I get a kick out of about 10 years ago. Somebody wanted me to I guess, consult, or they want to ask me a few questions on a kitchen. So I was just there for them. I work with them. Long story short, you know what they told her, the missus of the house. Oh, we'll probably be in there 2 weeks. I looked at him. I go, what a crock! What a crock! I go, prepare for a month and maybe a little over, depending if you're going to be moving stuff. And when they opened the walls, they ended up moving a window. Okay, a bunch of stuff. She came up to me afterwards. Oh my God, it was a gorgeous kitchen. I mean, to die for, and a great price here in Indiana. She said, Sedge, a month and 3 days, you were spot on. I go, well, I knew you were going to probably move that window. And I thought that was a supporting wall where you wanted that little office nook. She goes, yeah, we had to get somebody in here and get an inspector. And I go, you run into things.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where you don't know what you don't know until it's right in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's one thing that terrifies me about doing that kitchen, with as many things as we are talking about doing.
The thing
it will not be a quick process, that's for sure.
The thing I hate is when people aren't upfront with a client. A contractor is not upfront with a client, and I can smell that bullshit a mile away, and it drives me crazy. And I'm like, just tell them it's going to be a little while. But don't blow smoke.
Yeah.
And that's where contractors, installers, whatever, get a bad rap, because there's a bunch of shade out there that ain't right.
No.
So.
Well, that was a good one.
That was a good one.
I think Sedge next.
Oh.
Oh wait, yeah. No, that was yours. That was yours, Jason. So yeah, Sedge, you're up.
Okay. I got one by ground0_AR from Instagram. And it says, do any of you use moisture meters on your wood before starting the project? I have a Lignet. I think that's the name, Lignet moisture meter. It's a pin. I use it when I run into something where I haven't sourced the wood and I'm unsure of it. Follow me?
Mm-hmm.
And I bought it when I was a little upset because somebody sourced the wood for a project. The conference tables at Festool.
Mm-hmm.
The ones upstairs, the American Sycamore. They moved, and somebody told the person who sourced it, "Oh, it's a 9%." So after they were all built, I had to finish them, and I helped build them, but I had to finish them because everybody booked. And I was a little leery, so I went to Woodcraft and bought the moisture meter. I came back and I should have pinned it before we built it, because we had to compensate. So I had a little extra work to work with the keys I was putting in there. And I did have to pour a little epoxy to compensate for some of the movement, and resand. So yeah, if I'm unsure about my source of the wood, I'll pin it with a moisture meter. But most of the time I'm buying from Frank Miller, and they're the kiln, and they kiln between 7 and 9. So when I hit the pin on that, it was 17%.
Jeez.
So I had to wait to finish it, and it was okay. It just, and then you never know. So if you're unsure, pin it or put a moisture meter to it.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
If it's, again, same thing. If I don't know where the source is, or like for instance, I got some walnut from Jason a year and a half ago that ended up being my coffee table. And so I moved it from Indy to Virginia. And even though we're pretty much at the same latitude, more or less, but there's still a little bit of geographical difference. I had to wait for it to stabilize a little bit to where I'm at. But I mean, if I'm getting it from Lowe's, I know it's the best quality. You
Right.
know, that's
Oh, that
project
premium
ready.
pine.
That's
Yeah.
project ready.
They wouldn't
You
call
know?
it premium if it was wet.
I pin myself just to do it, just to be sure. But yeah. What about you, Jason?
Same answer. I don't do it anymore unless it's like if somebody's selling a bunch of wood and I'm like, oh wow, that's a really good deal. Maybe I'll go. Especially if there's somebody that mills their own lumber or cuts their own logs. But
You do it for your
that
MDF
almost,
though, right?
right. Absolutely. I want to
Yeah.
make sure my MDF is very low. That almost just never happens for me at this point. So I will not check anything that's in my shop right now for any reason before any project, because this wood has been in my shop for sure. I moved from Greenwood, Indiana to Avon, Indiana, right? But it's in a climate controlled space. It's been here. I know it came from Hartzell. I know it's kiln dried. Like, I'm not worried about it at all. Like, if it's going to, and then people were like, well, it moved because it wasn't dry. It's like, that's not necessarily true, right? There's so many other things that go into that, like releasing tension and everything else. Moisture content in my shop for the wood that I have is not a concern of mine at all.
Right on.
I think who's that? Ben?
Mm-hmm. This is coming from Jerry Grennan off of our Volley channel. He asks, how has the new social media and YouTube changed woodworking for the hobbyist and professional alike? So for the hobbyist, I think that woodworking can be more accessible, where in a situation like mine and Jason too, like I didn't have anybody that taught me how to use tools growing up. I mean, I had a grandfather that did woodworking. My dad was pretty handy around the house, but again, like all my woodworking has been discovery learning. I've never been to a school. I've never been to a trades craft school or anything like that. So everything that I know about woodworking has been either self-taught or self-discovered through the internet. And so I think that again, the advent of social media and online video has opened up woodworking to a lot of people that otherwise probably wouldn't have been exposed to it. And then for the professional, I think that social media, for the most part, has removed the bar of entry for advertising. In the past, when everything was analog, you had to, if you wanted to get your name out first, you had to take out advertising. You had to take out radio. You had to take out TV. You had to take out newspaper. You had to take out magazine. And back then, it was very much attention arbitrage. You had to just throw everything that you could out at these different media distributors with the hopes that it would get people to come in. You couldn't target necessarily anything. You could like geographically target things, but as far as saying, I want to target someone that's 35 to 45 that gets that consumes media between these times of the day, that has this level of income, you just didn't have that level of detail with advertising and marketing before social media. But now that these things are somewhat tracked and profiles are established and stuff like that, you can really target the person that you're trying to reach without having to waste money on people that are not your target customer. And I think that if people are doing YouTube right, that have like a business that exists outside of YouTube, if you're using YouTube right, it's only going to bring you more business. And so I think that it's in today's day and age, it's a lot easier for a hobbyist to quickly turn into a professional. Mm-hmm. Not to say that that couldn't happen in the past. It could. It would just take them a lot longer to do that. Because now it's like, okay, if I want to learn a new technique, I can just quickly go online, get a lot of exposure to it, and then go in my shop and then try it. Whereas in the past, those types of things are relegated to a person with experience that may or may not know, some type of an article that maybe only comes out once a month or once a week, or is only at a like a woodworking club. Again, there's the level of access was a lot harder before all of this stuff. So That's my take on how social media has changed for woodworking for the hobbyist and professional. What do you guys think?
I have nothing to add to the professional side, and I agree with everything. I agree with everything on the hobbyist side, but what I would like to add to that is you not only, it's easier to find information out about it because of social media. It also, I think, becomes more intriguing to people because of social media. People they follow and they like, and then they want to try something. The other big benefit to social media and how it's changed is that a new woodworker, a hobbyist woodworker, can have people that they like following and that they like watching their videos and all that stuff. And they can send them a message and in a lot of cases get immediate feedback. As opposed to if we were still looking at magazines or waiting for This Old House to come on PBS or waiting for whatever, even if it's like you go into your TV and like, going to Netflix and watching whatever. The fact that you have YouTube now and that because of social media, those people are so accessible in most cases, you never have to wait for anything anymore, right? You can get answers you're looking for immediately, and you can read about it, you can see it, or you can ask somebody a question and talk to them about it instantaneously. So I think because of that, and this does not only apply to woodworking, because of that, more people have done it. And then the other thing that's cool about social media too is it does create these communities, and some people will just become very, very fond of that community, which sparks their passion even more. So that's another positive impact to social media. The downside to being a hobbyist and relying on social media is that if you're somebody with very thin skin, it could discourage you very quickly.
What about you, Sedge?
When I first looked at this question, I didn't know how to answer it, but I get it now. And I'll tell you, I so wished that when I was in the business that I had Instagram predominantly, because I could create a portfolio on there just to show, and people like bragging rights. So, you're doing an install, people would come by and say, oh, the neighbors would come by, look what they're doing. People love that. They love to brag about, I bought this kitchen. And now it's all online. You can watch, and I would really promote that as my portfolio. I mentioned early on in this podcast, really early, hey, what websites do you guys use? And there was one, and I'll always say this, and it is social media. It's a forum. It's called WoodWeb. Anytime Mikey and I had a question on something, and sometimes we would get in an argument on things, I go, Mikey, I'm going to go into the archives of WoodWeb, type in what we're working on, and one of them was a radius toe kick. I go, you think we're having a problem with this? And all of a sudden 5, 6, 10 threads came up on radius toe kicks, and it answered a question that we really needed. That's in a forum back when I was, whenever. That was how we got it. Now you're right, Jason, it's a little more instantaneous, and you could actually reach out right now to somebody on Instagram and they would probably respond. So I think it's changed a lot. And just for a hobbyist, if you do the right search and you find the right people, you have some of the most unbelievable master craftsmen out there showing you correct ways to do things. There's a lot of hacks out there. You got to be very careful. But boy, people want to share and they want their craft to continue. So they're out there sharing on YouTube, and I am blown away of this content that's free. And they are willing to teach you what they have done for their entire careers. And it's absolutely amazing. Now, you gotta be very careful. And when I say careful, you got to be very open-minded, because some of these people teaching that are unbelievable craftsmen are not that good in front of a camera, but they are willing to get in front of the camera to share their knowledge. So they may not have the biggest followings. Don't go by following size. Go by, hey, this guy, you can kind of feel they know what they're talking about. They may say or aha boo, or have, they may not be that eloquent a speaker, but they're like, once again,
very knowledgeable.
They are unbelievable. So it's just finding the right people to watch on YouTube. And I'm just blown. I'll say it 1,000 times. I'm blown away who's out there sharing right now. So for a new woodworker, hobbyist, you are so daggone lucky, because there's so many mentors out there for you. So that's my 2 cents on that. And that is a really good question.
Yeah,
I like it.
I'm glad that question came in, because that's a good,
yeah.
I mean, that could be a whole episode in itself, I think.
Oh yeah. And maybe we kind of point people towards some of those people that, they may not have the biggest followings, but they're out there teaching, you know. And the thing I keep saying is, it's free, right?
Yeah.
I can't,
Well, I'll tell you this: probably the one place you want to avoid is hang on, let me find this channel.
Oh God.
Ben's
Hold on.
Woodworking. Ben's Woodworking.
Let me do it for you.
Oh,
Ben's Woodworking, everybody. You don't want to go to that channel.
So, but you know what blows me away? We have this segment get Ben, and people just comment, and then you taught me this, guys. You said, Sedge, they're just commenting that they don't have any videos themselves, and then the light went off, and I was like, what? Do you know? I don't know the percentage, Ben. You may know the percentage that people are willing to share out there.
It's not much. Not much.
I never got that until you told me.
I mean, you got to think that. I'm trying to think of how many. I know that there's a few million active YouTube channels out there. A few million, which is not a lot. There's how many people are in America? 280 million, something like that. And I could be totally off, but you're right. It is a very small percentage. And I would say that the more that you get closer to people that make content regularly is an even much smaller percentage.
Yeah.
I am discovering new channels every week that I've never heard of these people before, which every time that happens, I'm like, oh my God, it's like discovering gold, because you're like, how did this person exist? And I've never heard of them. Yep. I would say, okay, that may happen once a month that I discover someone that I've never heard of before. But those people are out there, just like you're saying, those people are out there. It can be very challenging to discover them.
And I love those channels, or I love videos. Maybe they've done 2 or 3, but it's something I'm looking to purchase, and they are so genuine. There's nothing fancy. They're shooting it on their iPhone. They don't edit anything. And they go off on these wacky tangents, and I can't stop watching it, because it's that genuine enthusiasm that this old timer has for whatever. And I love it, because I don't think people know what it takes to get in front of a camera and share. And I just love it. Hey, Ben, just kudos to you. I just watched, I think it's your newest video where you just bought the action camera.
Yeah.
God, you had me laughing when you were trying to open up that package in the very beginning.
Dude, that looks like, seriously, that took me about 25 minutes to try to get it.
Okay, I got one more question about the video. That dude that was holding up the stop sign. Okay, he should have let you go about a couple minutes before. He just wanted to talk to you.
No, I know. I saw the guy at the other end. It was a very short work area. And I'm
Yeah.
like looking at the sign. I'm like, his sign says slow. So I know that the other side says stop. So I'm like, I know I can go. But
And you had your helmet on in the store, didn't you?
yeah. Yeah. Well,
Filming.
I had to keep recording.
God damn that. I loved it. You know
And
how to put a good video together to hold me,
oh,
to
thanks, buddy.
you're welcome, pal.
When I was talking to that guy in whatever the shop is,
Yeah.
the pawn shop, I hit him in the head with my helmet. That's why I said him. It didn't come through in the video, but I totally whacked him in the head with it.
I love it. He's got his helmet on, man.
I guess I'll have to watch it. What's this channel called?
It's called Jason Bent Sucks Balls.
Oh, also known as Adventures on Zero. Got it.
Yeah.
I just loved how Sedge was talking about these crappy videos of people who are uncomfortable and awkward, and then he commented on your video. I was like, oh,
No,
perfectly let
no.
in. Good job, Sedge. Good job.
I love watching genuine videos. I just love it.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just giving you a hard time.
You know, it's and I think it was in 2019, and we're getting off on a YouTube tangent here, but it is kind of in regards to this. In 2019, YouTube changed how they determine what video you're going to watch. They started doing machine learning. And so unless you go into like an incognito session with YouTube is presenting videos based off of two things: your current search, if you're doing a search, or on your homepage, which is like the first thing that pops up when you open the app. It's completely based on what it expects you will like based off of what you've already watched. And so it makes sense that you kind of only see YouTube videos from channels that are kind of or that are very similar to other channels that you've already engaged with. And so every now and then it'll kind of fish like a new one in front of you, be like, hey, this is kind of what you already like. It's something you've not seen before. But if you just like pass it up because you're just browsing, well, then that channel is going to be not, I don't want to say gone forever, but you're never going to see it probably for a few months. And so that's why when I'm talking with people online, I'm like, hey, what are some channels that you like to watch? Because again, that is the best way to discover new creators or new to you. Because we are kind of at the behest of the algorithms, and it's not just one algorithm, it's thousands of algorithms that are at play when it comes to maybe not Instagram and Facebook, but definitely YouTube and Google. And so there are just so many people out there that we have never heard of that are in their own little woodworking communities that exist outside of the ones that we know. Because like really, when you think about it, how often do you guys come across like a new creator in our communities? It's not for me, it's not often that it happens. It's like, again, like it seems like once a month I see someone that is just completely new to me. And I'm like, wow, where's this person been, this whole time? It kind of seems like we run in the same circles almost.
I honestly, I would say the opposite for me.
Really?
I want to hit on something real quick now that we're talking about this topic, but I find that especially lately, maybe it's because I've been consuming more YouTube content as of late. I have been fine. I don't consume a lot of content unless I'm looking for something specific. But
like
lately I've been finding a lot of woodworking channels that I had no idea existed. And that's something I still find fascinating about this whole thing is that, I've been doing this for years and there's all these woodworkers out there that have no idea who I am. There's all these woodworkers out there that I have no idea who they are. And a few years ago, I would have thought that I knew just about everybody in the woodworking field, but it's so big now that it's just incredible to me when I'm like, who is this person? And they have like huge followings even. And I'm like, who is this person? I've never even heard of this person. Right. But I wanted to talk about something you brought up about, they serve you what you watch. Well, I can vouch for that because my feed is full of Vlad and Nikki or Roma and Diana or all these other weird shows that my son likes to watch. But you know, I watch a lot of Jason Hibbs videos, Bourbon Moth, because they're hilarious. So every
Who?
single time he releases a video, Jason Hobbs.
Oh,
So
bourbon what?
Bourbon.
I'm going to write that down. I'm going
Butterfly.
to try to follow that guy.
Bourbon Butterfly. Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
He's kind of a clown. Keith Johnson, you know, I watch his videos. So like their videos always pop up in mine. One thing I was thinking about though, yesterday on my way back from Fort Knox was, you know, I feel like a lot of my audience isn't re-engaging with videos. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, why could that be? Right. And to just stop, Ben, don't say some stupid remark, because I know you're just dying to. I'm surprised.
There, I said
yeah,
it.
Ben was gonna say, yeah, because you make fucking shitty content. No, I was thinking about this, and this is something that I've been seeing a lot more lately on some of these channels that are growing a lot faster. And some, you know, when I say this initially, you're probably gonna be like, well, yeah, duh. But there's a bigger reason behind this, and that is posting videos a lot more frequently. I've always been, for the most part, every other week. There's times where I go past that, and there's short stints where I will do a video a week. Well, guess what? When I'm doing the video a week, the views on all of my videos go up. When I'm doing a video every 2 weeks, the views are lower. And then you see all these other channels that are growing really fast. They're doing a video every week, and their average views are much higher, right, in comparison. And I was thinking about this, and I'm like, so I wonder why that is. And I think the reason for that is, let's say I release a video today, and Ben, you click on it and you watch it. Well, you watch that video. Sure, it might recommend another video to you the next time you log in, but it may be a video that you've already watched. So why would you watch it again? So you're just going to scroll right past it, right? But so it might be 2 weeks before you see another video. And then if you just happen to miss that new video, now it's 2 more weeks before you see what I'm saying? So the time in between you watching that channel has gotten longer and longer and longer, as opposed to if I watch a video of this person, 4 days later, they're releasing another video, or 7 days later, they're releasing another video, and I watch that one, YouTube is naturally going to push those videos more, and it's going to be fresher in your mind. And I feel like subconsciously you're going to watch those videos more. And I've been testing this theory out on my own, like, search, and it is coming back with pretty remarkable, like, recommendations for that specific person, like how many times they show up versus someone else. And so I think obviously the more content you put out there, great, right? Because you're putting more content, you're going to get more views overall. But I think the real benefit to putting more content out is that it's more likely that somebody has looked at your channel and viewed your content more recently on a larger scale. Therefore, your content will be seen by those people more, and they'll be more inclined to click on that video, if that makes sense.
In a way, it really what it boils down to is there's more data. YouTube, when you release more content, YouTube has more data about your content, because at the end of the day, YouTube creates their algorithms are meant to serve the viewer. Like, that's what it's there for. They're there to bring value to the viewer. That's it. And so if, as long as your content is valuable to others, meaning that there are signals that people are watching this content, and the signals are human signals, that your retention is high throughout the video, meaning that you're hooking people into the very beginning of the video, and they're continuing to watch the video all the way through. It's not about comments. It's not about likes. It's about the viewing session. Are people staying for the entire video, or most of the video? And so if YouTube sees that, they say, okay, the type of person that found this video valuable would probably like to see more content like this. But if you're only producing 26 videos a year, and then someone else is producing 52 videos a year, the person with 52 videos has more data available for their channel to be analyzed by YouTube to say, these are the type of viewers that find this valuable.
Agree.
So,
however,
yes, you're going to see more. You're going to see more views if you post regularly, as long as your content is valuable.
yes,
you know?
I totally agree with that. That obviously is a big play. But what I'm saying though is your search block is extremely personal based on what you consume and how you consume it. Correct. So it has nothing to do with anybody else, right? It's what you consume and how you consume it. If I only watch Jason Hibbs videos and Jay Bates and Vlad and Nikki with my son, 80% of the things recommended to me are going to be that. And then there's going to be another tab that says other viewers watched these things as well, right? And then that's how you can find other things. My argument is that whether I've been watching the stuff a lot, my core audience or my whole audience is not always engaging in my videos. They're not always watching the videos. And I think a big part of that is because they're not seeing the videos in their feed as much because they're watching them less often because I'm posting them less often. Mm-hmm. Some of these, I've been like running like unofficial tests, like on, again, this is on my own thing, watching specific people that I wouldn't typically watch and only watching half the video, clicking out after the first 30 seconds. Like I've been doing a lot of this lately, and it's interesting what I'm seeing in my subscription feed. And all of the ones that I'm seeing the most are the people who are posting more often, and it'll recommend more of those more often videos because I happen to click on one of their videos. So now it's like, oh, you like this person? Here's more. And if I keep clicking on them, of course, it's going to keep doing that stuff. So my argument is, like, obviously when I, next year when I'm done and I can actually focus on this, I would really love to go a long period of time with doing a video a week, because I saw the same thing on my own channel when I was doing a video a week. All of my average views were much higher.
I would encourage you to do that through an incognito window. See if you get the same results with incognito.
Wouldn't it, if you're incognito, it's not going to serve you up stuff based on your views and all that stuff, right?
Isn't that the point of it? It's a little bit like, it may say incognito, but it still knows what your IP address is. It still knows what your location is. So it's still going to be a little bit tailored to you. But doing incognito is a great way to kind of flatten the curve more or less, to see what kind of content needs to be served up.
Basically the way, I guess what I'm trying to say, I guess I'm not really making it clear, is that you remember back in the day when we were like on the grind on Instagram and we were posting twice a day, whether it was good content or not, posting twice a day, feeding the machine, all this stuff. Guess what happened? Our channels grew. Why? Because our stuff was in front of way more people, way more often. So it's much higher chance that it's going to get clicked on. And if they watch that video and then they like it, to go with your argument, of course, they're going to keep watching that stuff, but there's more videos of mine that are being fed to them. And I'm seeing that with a lot of these channels that are growing really fast, is that there's a couple that I'm looking at, they're putting out videos like every couple of days. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, it's pretty much the exact same style video every single time, but they've figured that out. And if they're just trying to grow and get a bunch of views and make a bunch of money, that's great. But it's just interesting. And I've really been paying attention to it a lot. And I don't know, I've just been looking at it differently, especially, after, guys like John, Lincoln Street Woodworks, and how he, did all this research and approaches stuff. Now I kind of just find that information very intriguing when you actually start paying attention to it, because I agree with you. You're right on everything you're saying, like how the algorithm works and all that stuff. But I definitely think there's something to be said for those people that are producing that content on a more frequent basis. And now there's more opportunities of new things. Because when a video comes out initially in those first X amount of days, it's not a big push for the people that don't follow you. It's a big push for the people that follow you.
Yeah, it's all about discoverable content.
Right. And then if they're all really loving your stuff, then YouTube's going to filter it back. You just have all these additional opportunities to do that. The downside of that is obviously, you can start making crap content that you're just doing to fill a void. And which is what I did early on.
You're just trying to do weekly content as opposed to valuable content.
Yeah, but it's working for some. I guess it just depends on what your goals are. But I don't know when Sedge is going to be back. I'm actually
there. He is. Speak of the beanie.
Can we wrap this one up? Because I actually have to go put my boy down.
Sedge, do you call it a beanie or a toboggan?
Toque.
A what?
Toque.
A toque?
Toque. Or a cap.
Cap. Yeah.
Mm.
Word.
People in Ohio call it toboggan. Grab your
Do they
toboggan.
really? I heard
Like,
that.
what?
I've heard it called a toboggan.
Patrick, as you're listening to this comment, do you people call it toboggans? I'm pretty sure that's what they say.
Toque.
Jason,
Toque comes from Canada. Toque.
do you have any hatreds this week?
Mm.
No, I don't
don't?
have time for it tonight.
Okay.
And typically we don't do them on the community episodes, but I didn't
Oh,
even look.
really? Oh, really?
Yeah, today. I have something I got to ask you, Sedge, real quick when we end this.
Shoot.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for submitting your comments, concerns, topics, and ideas for this community episode. If you want to have your chance or have a chance of having your question read on the air, make sure to go to www.greenseerspodcast.com, go to the questions tab. For the love of God, keep it brief. For the love of God, 2 sentences max. I'm going to start putting a filter on there. If it's more than 3 sentences, it's just going to get deleted.
You have 150 characters.
Yeah, let's make it a tweet, okay? No, we really do appreciate everyone that submitted their questions. We look forward to these every 5 episodes, so look forward to the next one in episode 65. Thanks so much for your time and attention. I bid you all adieu.
Thank you.
Bye.
Adieu.
Bye.
Adieu.
Adieu.